If you want reliable, affordable, and efficient transportation, you're probably contemplating a Toyota Corolla. And if you aren't, you should be, especially with the hybrid, though maybe not this one. At some point or another, we want to be something that we aren't. Maybe we're insecure. Maybe we're trying to impress the PhD student with big words and ruminative discourse. There's a chance that we fake it until we make it, but without serious commitment, the result isn't compelling, and at worst, it's embarrassing. What does this have to do with anything? Well, Toyota knows how to make a versatile Corolla, and they know how to make a fun Corolla. But the hybrid sedan is about taking frugality to the absolute max. And the SE trim works against that, with the goal of making this green machine spicy. And on the outside, it succeeds in my opinion. The LE is a basic car with angry headlights, but the SE tweaks the front and rear fascias, adds a little bit of ground effects, a microscopic spoiler, and some tasteful rims in my opinion. Though I do find the new Prius to be more handsome. If you want to cosplay a tuner, you can also get this in the Nightshade edition, and with the SE you'll have niceties like proximity entry, but you can get most of those features on the LE as well. And on the inside, you're still left with a Corolla. And one of the problems with this particular car is that with the special color, the premium package, and all-wheel drive, it is over $30,000, which puts you into Prius territory, and this does feel much more basic. While I do appreciate the two-tone treatment, the leather-wrapped steering wheel and rest points, along with, of course, the red stitching, this still feels like a basic econobox, which does have its pros, but usually one of those is that it's not $30,000. There's cheap plastics and vinyls, panel fitment and construction is okay, but compared to Honda or Mazda, quality is a notable step backward. Something that's especially important with the release of the new Civic Hybrid. Still, Toyota does deserve some respect for keeping things as simple as they did here. There's not a whole lot of buttons and dials. The infotainment system comes with wireless CarPlay, an extremely basic user interface, and an okay response time. The analog gauge cluster is also large, and the multifunction display gives you more information than some full digital setups. But those things remain true for the LE, and if you want an even nicer Corolla, you can get the XLE, which actually does give you a digital dash and some leatherette upholstery and heated front seats for a very reasonable price, but for some reason Toyota doesn't make that available with all-wheel drive. I drove this one for 8 hours, and while I may want some more thigh support, I don't need to use my health insurance that totally covers chiropractors, and I think a wide variety of body types will be alright with this. I can even squeeze behind myself in the back seat too. The amenities might be short, but for kids and moderately sized adults, this could work for a road trip or an Uber side hustle. The trunk is also very competitive with the class, with a nice opening, though the hybrid skimps on the spare tire and goes with a fix-a-flat. Quite frankly, the cabin of the Corolla is out-refined by most in the class. And on the road, the aforementioned added cost of the SE and all-wheel drive continue to deteriorate the once solid argument of the Corolla Hybrid. This uses a now dated version of Toyota's hybrid system. It packs a 1.8-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 with your choice of 1 or 2 permanent magnet drive motors. The second one is located at the rear for the all-wheel drive model, which bypasses the need for a drive shaft. That second motor packs 40 horsepower and should help this perform well on the snowy occasion. But I've found that to only get slightly better gas mileage than the high-riding, more versatile Corolla Cross Hybrid that is also much, much quicker. This gets off the line well, but you can feel it lose motivation like a dog when it discovers you don't have a treat. On a hot and humid day, expect to get to 60 in about 9.3 seconds. It's a little bit more peppy with front-wheel drive, but that's not why you're buying this. You're getting it for efficiency. But that's kind of the issue here too. According to the EPA, even the all-wheel drive LE is more efficient than the front drive SE. And while it's pretty easy for me to exceed those ratings, the LE I drove also did that. Now, as you might have heard, this does come with a continuously variable transmission, but of course it's Toyota's e-cvt, which uses another electric motor to help change gear ratios and a planetary gear set to get the power to the ground, so it feels a little bit more natural and linear than what you would get with a standard unit. And while that acceleration might be a little less than impressive, passing power it's not that bad, especially at lower speeds. It feels like it has more than 138 ponies, but at higher speeds, give yourself more of a window to get around people. And because this runs a dated system, essentially all new Toyota hybrid products are much more potent than this. But they also incur a higher price tag when you equip them similarly. And I know some of you are probably sick of hearing me talk about other cars that aren't this, but honestly, I think it's impossible to review this car and pretend that they don't exist, because a lot of Toyota's lineup and direct competitors have really been stepping up their electrified game. Now, the Corolla SE does pack a sport-tuned suspension, which in theory should firm things up. It does feel a little bit more poised. I do think this handles better than I was expecting. There's a slight reduction in body roll, but it's kind of like buying a bougie casket. It does feel nicer, but it's not going to wake you up. It's still a bit of a snooze fest on a back road. The steering is numb, but it's direct and not one finger floaty like the Corolla Cross. In fact, Toyota did add some weight to the steering for the SE to make it feel more substantial. You can carry a good amount of speed through some tight corners. The car is tiny, and when you combine that with the good visibility, it's remarkably easy to drive. And over a bad road that was recently made better than it used to be.
No! They fixed the road!
This is still pretty comfortable. The Toyota Corolla Hybrid in any trim is forgiving. Small to medium-sized imperfections don't bother the cabin, though something like a Camry or Prius is maybe a little bit more smooth. But for forgotten city streets, the soft setup here should be pleasing for most people. Just like most of the other affordable Toyotas, this thing can get noisy. Up at like 65, 70 miles per hour, there's more road noise than what you would get with a lot of comparable cars. And if you try to accelerate, the engine does need to get up to like 4,000 RPM, which can get a little tiresome, but road tripping this was not painful, especially when you're not paying much for fuel and you're not worried to put miles on this thing. This generation of Corolla as a whole has been very reliable. Some of the most consistent problems, like doors that would trap water, had an insanely easy fix. Some other problems were related to a brake booster recall, the previous generation infotainment, and early on issues with the variable valve timing of the 1.8, but so far it's lived up to the Corolla reputation, and Toyota's hybrid system is extremely proven at this point. Yes, you might have to replace a battery after 15 years, and that's not exactly cheap, but a lot of people get well over 200,000 miles before that's ever a problem. If you don't drive your cars into the ground, but occasionally drive them into other objects, the Corolla has performed well in the original IIHS crash tests, but the updated ones have given the car some trouble. At least you'll have Toyota's latest active safety suite to help prevent you from testing those abilities. As Toyota releases more powerful hybrids that don't sacrifice efficiency, the greenest Corolla begins to make a little less sense. Until you see the price tag. The EconoBox interior might warrant some valid criticisms, but for people who care more about having a simple layout, a usable back seat, and the lowest running costs possible, a lack of zest isn't a problem. The Hybrid LE and XLE are nerds in nerd clothing. They don't try to be something that they're not, and they're better for it. They're the cars you buy when you need one more than you long for one. I'm happy Toyota still makes a car like this, and I think that's what keeps the Corolla Hybrid relevant in the face of more impressive competition. But the SE sits in an awkward place, especially with all-wheel drive. My general advice is to reconsider if you are wanting something engaging, and to look elsewhere if you want all four wheels to be driven. But the more time I spend with the SE, the more I get why you would want this. If you're easy on the options, it is more affordable than its brethren, while not looking like the Uber Idol spec Corolla. You still probably shouldn't buy one, but the enhancements to the style and suspension are enough to make it feel more desirable in my opinion. If you're fine with paying the price for that, but you can't stomach the cost of the other Toyotas, you might fall into its narrow niche. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like to help me take on the elusive YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more fun, detailed car content without fluff. Consider becoming a channel member for an additional podcast and to help me take this to another level. I'll catch you in the next one.